Got to get the warmongers out of power, bro.
Yeah, half the guys in this room put them in that power.
Oh, dude, the two-party system's an illusion. If you think your vote like actually matters, they control both candidates on the choices they give you to vote for are both the same choice.
Were you talking about
voting?
Yahoo or Trump as the warmonger?
It wouldn't have mattered who you vote. My point is that it wouldn't have mattered who you voted for. The result would have been the same.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's just a generational thing, brother. Like, like.
You sound like Witsit when you say brother. That's how he says it.
Bro,
No
does
offense.
Witsit stay on your mind constantly?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, he's on my mind every day.
It's just when I hear
about him right now.
When I hear Jesus Christ is Lord speak, I don't. You just sound like him.
They sound nothing alike, dude. They have two completely
I don't
different.
know.
Even the cadence isn't even close.
No,
like
but
I think it's because of the way they both say the same thing in the same bullshit.
What is similar?
It was like the way he said brother. That's so like how Witsit said. I'm not saying you copy Witsit. I'm just saying it just reminds me of Witsit.
Yeah, okay. What doesn't remind you of Witsit?
You don't remind me of Witsit in any way.
Yeah, he said it like 3 times earlier that I remind him of Witsit. Then he said, "I think I'm so smart and have such a high IQ" or something like that. I mean, it's just like I don't.
Yeah. 160.
I got you, B.
Is that what Witsit's IQ is? How do you know? Why do you know that?
Witsit's IQ is not 160.
He has said it's 160.
Wonder where he got tested.
He did like one of those things where you're on Facebook and there's like a.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Yeah,
there's an sign up for one of the questions, and
you should go back to
He's making that up right now, Great Angelo. By the way, that's like he's literally just making that up. So
I am
making that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I mean, like
take it with a grain. I am making up that part, but he has said his IQ is 160.
Well, good for him.
Well, of course he's going to say that because he thinks he's the smartest dude around. Come on.
Well, he's the stupidest dude around, but I can explain why I say he's stupid if you want to hear about it.
No, not even a little.
I don't want to talk about Witsit at all, actually. He's not even here.
Oh, no, there's a very good reason why he's the stupidest
Nobody
person
cares,
on the planet.
dude. You're talking shit about people that aren't here because you
I'm not
don't
talking
like
shit. I'm complimenting him.
about some other nonsense.
Dude, I just don't understand why. Like, it's how does he get brought up so often in the server when he's not here?
Because they're still affected. They're still affected by his words. It'll be like eternal.
No, not at all.
Yes, it sure seems like it, dude.
The reason why I said he is, it's a
That's
compliment.
a bad look, bro.
That's
That's like having an ex and 10 years later.
Okay, so I don't get to say my statement.
So they try to get into an argument with him and they get so twisted up that they can never forget the experience.
Dude, he's talking to you and
with me
then,
when I was talking to him.
Witsit. Like he's hearing things, and it's like Witsit pops in his head.
I buried Witsit so many times.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, the reason why I said Witsit is stupid and why it's a compliment is because where there is no intelligence, there is also no stupidity. Oh my God,
you sound like NASA's show right now.
Well, do you mind if I finish saying what I'm saying, or is that something that's going to?
No, I mean, it's actually. I don't think that we're supposed to be insulting people that aren't here.
It's so irrelevant. Like you're just being a hater.
Yeah, we're just going so far off any topic to what?
Hey guys, would you mind if I sit and talk about how stupid I think this person that isn't here is? I just really want to passionately describe how
stupid. Not talking about how stupid he is. I'm telling you that when you call him stupid, you're actually giving him a compliment.
Do we have a topic, buddy?
Yeah, the topic is what stupidity is. In order to have stupidity, you have to have intellect.
Get away from
so I'm telling you, he has intellect.
So my definition of stupidity, there's more than one definition, just like there are many definitions. But one of the definitions of stupidity is Zionism. Another is Talmudism.
Not a definition,
dude. That's got to be so close to the top of the list.
Yeah. Several definitions.
Usury's fucking up there too.
Yeah.
how about
okay.
thinking the Earth is a sphere? Where does that
Know what
rank?
else is up there?
Well, you know what, Buck? You know
Old
what, Buck?
men and women bickering back and forth, hating each other, and then sending young kids to die on their behalf. That's pretty fucking dumb too. They call
You know
them
what, Buck?
wars.
I personally know that we live on a flat topographical plane, but I'm not that mad at people. I don't have that big of a problem with people who think it's a globe as long as they understand that we're not moving and we're in the center.
What if they don't think that? Then
Well, then they're just wrong, because geocentrism is like observably metric. It's a metric fact.
Good God.
But you're
Oh, now you
wait,
appeal to God.
So you're okay with
Said,
people
"Good
thinking
God."
it's a sphere?
Yes, God
Well,
is good.
I said my
agree.
feelings wouldn't be hurt because the
Gotta be a
reason I
genie
say
would
that.
come up with something like that.
The reason I say that is because even though I don't think it's the truth, and I think the truth is important, so technically I don't think they should believe that. If you are a geocentrist, you necessarily arrive at a God conclusion, right? You like this version of this vast empty universe that we're a product of nothing in, just a speck of dust in a sandbox. Like that idea immediately dies with geocentrism. So you immediately understand that there's a God that put us in the center because there's only one center and we're special and unique and important. So because of that, then I'm not that upset, right? That's why I say that.
Well, why does being in the center mean you're special?
Well, if you're in a if you believe in
brother.
if you believe in a universe that's like 16 billion years old and 30 billion light years across or whatever, and we're the one thing that's in the center,
I can
we're
tell you
special.
this. We don't believe in any of that. All of us scientists assume and make, basically conclusions leading to that, but there's not a single scientist who will be who has any credit whatsoever uses the word believe. Only people who, like you, need to have some kind of a fantasy, believe in something.
That's cool. So you think that you know things that you don't know. So that's
Didn't say
actually
no.
hubris.
I didn't say no, nor did I say believe. I said specifically scientists come to conclusions and rationalize that this is the most likely explanation for why something is what it is or
So
why
would they
something
believe in
does
that
what it
thing?
does.
Would they believe in that thing?
No, not believe.
So they don't believe then.
Conclusion. Oh, Jesus, you're not listening to anything I say, are
You
you?
know that
You
believing
want
is
so
a dichotomy,
badly,
right?
you want so badly for me to say I believe something that it gives you hemorrhoids as you strain to get me to say that. Now stop straining and understand I don't believe in anything. I question everything and I come to conclusions and rational, explanations as to what I think might be the reason why we are where we are and what we're doing here on this earth. That's what a scientist is supposed to do. And I constantly adjust my thinking whenever new evidence comes along to change my mind. Good luck with trying to tell me I believe anything.
So when you reason and come to a conclusion and you settle on an answer, do you believe that thing?
Again, you're trying to use a word that I don't use.
It doesn't matter if you use the word. It's about fact.
Let's say I agree with the conclusion. I agree with the fact or the conclusion because, again, not fact.
So
I don't believe in any proofs because the only two places you find proofs are in logic and mathematics. If you had any brain at all, knew anything about science, you'd know that's exactly where those proofs are. You don't find any proofs in science itself.
So do you know it? And if you don't know it, then do you believe it? Because
I
those are the two
understand
categories.
it. That's a difference between knowing and understanding.
Okay, so like, are you married? Do you have a family?
That's none of your business.
Do you use this same type of explanation to them? Like, do you tell your kids you can't
know
anything?
Both of my kids are atheists and also, don't have any belief system.
Okay, saying that you don't believe in anything doesn't mean that you don't exercise belief. Like, this is such a stupid, pedantic confidence.
No, it's not. It's actually ask any other scientist out there worth his salt. He's going to say, I don't believe anything either. I actually question everything.
You're trolled.
Yeah, what's the definition of believe? Can you tell me the definition of believe?
Don't need to. It's not part of not a part of my wheelhouse.
To accept as true or real. That
And
is the
again,
definition
there
of
is
belief.
nothing true in science.
So
Everything is
you don't
questioned.
accept things as true.
No, we accept them as the most reasonable and likely outcome, but not as true.
No,
True false is a proof. A true false
Okay.
is a proof or lack of proof, and
So
that
is
is
it
in
true
that's
that
the logic. Now we do
Earth is
use
orbiting the sun?
logic. Hold on, we do. You got me there. You got a
Is it
point here.
true?
You're
Yeah.
making a good point. There are times when we actually use logic and say something is true, and there are times we use mathematics when we demonstrate something as something being true. So, like for instance, measuring an exact, 1 meter using the speed of light or something as a measuring tool, we usually can use mathematics to find something being true for a certain length or something along that way, an observable truth, that is.
Is
But
it true that
an
Earth orbits
actual
the sun?
conclusion from a hypothesis through experimentation always results in an understanding and a consensus, not a belief.
Is it true
Nice
that
try.
Earth orbits the sun?
It is the general consensus that the Earth does orbit the sun.
Is it true?
It is not a truth. It is a general consensus.
Okay, so
Can-
if
can
you
we
don't
move
know
on
anything,
from
what's the point of
semantic
me
bullshit,
engaging with
please?
you? Yeah, I mean, like, you don't even know anything, bro. Like, you don't know anything. What's the point of me arguing with you, bro? Because I don't even have
If
to
there's
take a
anyone
position
in
'cause you
this
don't
room
know.
that doesn't know anything, is anyone who's basically a Christian that believes in some kind of a God.
Yeah, so you don't know
Oh,
if
there
Earth
we
orbits the sun or
go.
not?
Like a
Exists.
globe?
You have no
So-
evidence that Jesus
so-
ever existed.
So you don't know whether or not Earth orbits the sun.
It's just going to be endless sophistry.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
you don't
gonna
know?
be
You don't know,
waste.
Angelo? Like, do you know or not?
Okay,
Because if you don't know, then
asked
like,
and already answered. If this is going to be a court of law, it's asked and answered already. Go look at the logs. You'll see
you
I've
told me
already
it's a
answered your dumb
consensus. You didn't tell
question.
me if you know. That's
The
not
Bible
answering
is
my question.
evidence for Jesus too, by the way. So when you
Yeah.
say there's no
The
evidence, you're
fact
just
that you don't
Angelo,
like
could
my
I ask,
answer is not my problem.
No, it's a binary question. You telling
Sounds
me
like
there's a
it's not a
consensus.
binary question. It's
There
a stupid
could be a
question.
consensus, and you might not agree with it. So that doesn't tell me anything.
No, if I disagree with the consensus, I would tell you. I would say, hey, I don't think that the Earth is going around, is going around the sun.
You didn't tell me if you agreed with it either.
Oh, I definitely agree with the consensus. That's different than believing or thinking it's true. Agreeing with something where I think it's the most likely outcome.
The consensus,
that's perfectly natural.
The consensus is it is true that the Earth orbits the sun, and you agree with the statement that
In
it's
that
true.
statement, the way it's phrased, yes.
Okay,
Because
so
again, you're not asking for a belief. You're just asking for a positive consensus based on logic. Tells
you
me
do
the
agree that
consensus
it's
is
true
true.
that the Earth orbits the sun, since that's the consensus. And
Of
you agree
course.
okay, so do you have any mutually exclusive proof that the Earth's orbiting the sun?
You don't get it. I'm not in here to debate, and I know you're going to go down the flat Earth road here. You're going to try to do everything you can to debunk the so-called globe Earth
I didn't
model.
say anything about shape. I said
Hold on,
Earth's
I'm going to
motion.
come back to this. Okay, when you want me to go ahead and try to defend the globe Earth model, and I give you all of these
not the
reasons
globe,
why we came to the consensus that it is a globe, that it is growing, going around the sun, is in the sense that this is our general explanation of how things are. You can't accept that, and not only that, you can't even prove or show a model or even have a consensus that the Earth is truly flat that we can agree with. So we disagree with your point.
You've lost the plot, bro. I'm not talking about the shape. I'm talking about whether it orbits the sun.
Fine. I do have an understanding that there is space. It's real. That my consensus is that the Earth orbits the sun. I agree with that. I find that statement to be a true statement for my agreement purposes. Yes. Would anything change my mind about it? Sure. Any new evidence that came along that indicated that the Earth doesn't orbit the sun, I'd be more than happy to look at. You show me some evidence where it doesn't, and that it isn't some bullshit that you made up, and show me experimentally how you can prove it, or at least get to the point where we're not sitting there going, yeah, give evidence to it that it supports your hypotheses, and we're talking the same language.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any mutually exclusive evidence that we're in motion?
Again, you're going down the same path that all flat earthers do when they want to try to demonstrate that the Earth is not a globe and doesn't move and doesn't orbit the shape. No, I'm adding all of it in there. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll add it all in there because that's the direction you're going.
Shape.
Well, that's too bad. It's a conversation about space and whether we're rotating or not. What are we
Actually, I
rotating
asked you
on?
about orbit.
How are we going to, or what's orbiting around there? Let me ask you that then, because if you're going to ask me, are we orbiting the sun? Me individually, yes. Okay.
Yeah, we're
How am I
not.
getting around the sun?
So you would have to demonstrate, since that's a positive claim, some mutually exclusive proof that supports your claim.
No proof. Again, you're wrong.
Evidence, then.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Plenty of evidence for
show
it.
me some mutually exclusive evidence that Earth's orbiting the sun.
That's exclusive and definitive.
Again, I am not going to go into a debate as to what my my consensus
You don't have even
is.
one? You don't have even one?
I don't want to. It's a waste of time.
Well, let me ask it this way.
Back
I was going to ask this before, just let me like 5 seconds. Let me ask you this. So if you were like out in the woods and you came upon some peoples that had never been told about the globe Earth or anything, these are just some people living in a tribe in the jungle, and you come upon them. Now, let's say for some reason you both speak the same language, so we'll pass, just for this. Now, if you told them that, Earth was a globe, it's going around the sun, and they just looked at you like, what? Like, how confident would you tell them? Like, if they said to you, okay, well, how confident are you in this? Like, how sure are you that this is really happening? Remember, these people don't have any background of it. What is your answer to that? Like, how sure can you actually assert that it is a globe going around the sun, the motion, all of those factors? But if we're talking about the motion, like, let's say that we're on a globe orbiting the sun. Let's go with that, since you were saying that. How confident could you really, like, would you have to just kind of give them this, like, skating around answer, or could you really tell them straight, like, hey, this is how sure I am. This is how sure you are that it's true.
I can tell them I'm absolutely certain that or not absolutely certain. Let's put it this way, that I am to the point where I agree with the consensus that the Earth goes around the sun and can demonstrate lots of evidence, key evidence for the Earth orbiting the sun.
Like
everything from, stellar parallax, star patterns and seasons.
So you think that that's mutually exclusive to heliocentrism?
Satellite images and global positioning satellite systems that basically, are adjusted as we orbit around the sun. Doppler effect through light spectroscopy. Okay, you wanted the evidence, and that gave me and that's the evidence that I use for my conclusion. Doesn't matter whether it's mutually exclusive or not. It matters whether I agree with it and came to the conclusion. I don't take one specific piece of evidence and say, this is why we orbit the Earth. I take an accumulation of all that evidence.
In a geocentric world.
No, they don't.
No, they
Tell
don't.
me which one doesn't work.
Seasons.
Good God. Seasons is the best one. The problem with your local sun, when you're in the when it's in the southern hemisphere, it's too far away from, say, like places in just north of the equator to account for the fact that even though that the sun is in the southern hemisphere at its farthest reaches, you still have plenty of, basic warming going on all the way up into southern Mexico and southern California. How are you getting that much radiation and heat coming from a local object that's that far away? You should be losing that amount of solar energy.
Geocentrism
what is the sun made out of? Yeah, I know what geocentric is.
So why did you say local object?
You want the sun orbiting the Earth? Or are you saying the sun is, where is the sun according to your model? Give me an example of what you're trying to say.
Yes, no, I said geocentrism.
No, you're not giving me. Do you mean geocentrism makes the Earth in the middle? You're not telling me where everything else is. Okay, if you're just saying the Earth's in the middle of what? Orbiting the Earth in what way? A globe Earth or a flat Earth? A globe Earth or a flat Earth?
Well, I told you this.
Makes a big difference because if it's 93 million miles away while it's orbiting the Earth, you got a problem there also.
Okay, so you don't think that if you were to swap the position...
Is it a local sun or not? I need more evidence before I can answer your question.
I think what he's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Earth is stationary, but the sun is orbiting the Earth.
Correct.
Is that what you're getting at? And
without any more information, though, I can't answer his question.
Yeah, is it local or is it 93 million miles away?
Well, in the context of this conversation, it can be 93 million miles away. That's fine.
Okay, so you're saying if the sun was the one that was moving and the Earth was stationary with its same tilt, then yes, the seasons would work. If all we're looking at is the sun rotating around the Earth, as opposed to the Earth rotating around the sun, yeah, the seasons would work.
The
Okay,
sun would
so
have
then-
to change its rotational plane. The sun would have to be the thing
What
that's moving between.
Yeah, the sun would be
it's not-
moving and the Earth would be fixed in the center. So okay, next. So seasons work. What else doesn't work?
Either
How,
scenario.
how do you describe that seasons
But,
work?
but seasons would only work in a vacuum. That's nothing else around it would work in that same manner, right? Stellar
What do you mean?
parallax certainly
Yeah,
wouldn't
stellar
work.
parallax. You just flip the
And-
triangle upside down.
You do what? Wait a
flip
minute.
the
Did he
triangle-
just
you-
do what I think he said?
You flip the triangle
Yeah.
upside down. Yeah,
Oh, Jesus
Flip it
Christ.
upside down.
the triangle that you make where the Earth's on two different sides of the sun, right? You just now you put the tip of the triangle on the Earth,
God.
and then you flip the legs of the triangle on the other side, where the stars are as they rotate it.
How do you do that as the observer?
What do you mean? You take it at two different points in time.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
I mean, it's
And
literally
do you-
equivalent.
Oh,
Do you believe that in this example is the Earth still rotating on its axis?
Well, there's two different versions. There's one where you have a rotating Earth. There's one where you have a non-rotating Earth. So it depends on which position you take. Both of them
Can
work.
I
They
can
just-
Which one do you
I ask
believe?
can I ask a kind of adjacent question? I think we're not getting anywhere with this, but there's something I always wanted to ask. Like, is that all right, or do you want to stick with
So-
this?
So
Yeah.
So
I'm sticking with
Well,
the
I mean,
heliocentrism
I've
thing because I still
understood.
haven't been given any mutually exclusive evidence. Like I'm trying to figure out which one of these proofs that he listed he thinks doesn't work on a
okay, if you
geocentric
don't want,
Earth.
if you want to keep up with that, I'll wait.
Yeah. Like, is there anything else that you think is mutually exclusive that doesn't work for geocentrism? Because
I got one. I got one. Retrograde
Why do
motion.
okay, so in the Tychonian model or in the Ptolemaic model, which one?
Either.
Well,
'Cause
like
in the
would you
Tychonian.
get epicycles? Like, would you?
Yeah, no,
Like-
in the Tychonian model, it's not a problem. In the Ptolemaic model, it might be, but the Tychonian model doesn't have a problem with it.
So which model you're going with?
Yeah,
Well,
because
for this conversation, I would use the Tychonian model, but
Okay.
yeah, but that implies that there's basically spheres out there, like out projected
And that
out.
the Earth is a sphere.
well,
Yeah.
in this in the context of this conversation, I'm granting them the globe, and I'm just saying prove that we're orbiting the sun, right? Like,
And you're granting other globes out there too, or other spheres.
yeah, I
like
mean,
large
it's
sphere
literally like you give them the whole model of space that they have, but then you put Earth in the center.
So you have this centralized Earth. I really have to know how far away the sun is. Is the sun a spotlight? Because you have a big problem. Two things, actually. Varying speeds would have to be, definitely have to be a problem for you because in
No,
the
it's
southern
kinematically
hemisphere.
equivalent. All the kinematics
Okay.
are the same.
Go ahead. Just interrupt me in the middle of that. A constant angular size as it moves around is going to be a problem for you. And the spotlight problem. If it's a sphere creating energy, you've got a problem where the energy gets farther away when you're in the southern hemisphere from anything up in the northern hemisphere. And yet you can't explain how the warming is, not gradual, but some places are extremely hot, even in the wintertime in the northern hemisphere, due to the amount of solar radiation that they receive. And yet you have a spotlight that's farther away in the opposite time, opposite time of year. Whereas here in the wintertime, we're actually closer to the sun. So I don't understand this. How you get this
I
idea
thought
here.
we already established that the seasons work in both. I don't understand.
They
what
don't
you're
work.
talking about.
I disagree with the other person. They don't work. They have a lot of problems, and the problems I listed are right there.
Okay, so if the
Most of it
sun,
is the thermal radiation. You cannot explain how you get the thermal radiation to be evenly distributed across the southern hemisphere to make a southern,
it's
from
the
a
same
from a
as it
spotlight.
is in the heliocentric model. It's not about
No, it's
proximity.
not.
It's about angle.
It's exactly. You know what the problem is? It's the amount. It's the actual the parallel rays of the sun coming in, and this is why you have some areas that get much hotter than others. It all has a lot to do with not only climate but the
So-
texture of
so if you just-
rainfall, the absorption.
Let me help you. Let me
If
help you.
there's
If you
not a lot of
delete,
cloud cover,
yeah, I can help
these
you.
are all
You're
makes
making-
changes.
You're making
Go
it too
ahead.
hard. Yeah, you're making it too hard. If you just delete all the planets in the solar system, and you just have only two bodies, and it's just the Earth and the Sun, so it's easier to think about and visualize. Okay, if the Earth is sitting still and the Sun is going around the Earth, or if the Sun is sitting still and the Earth is going around the Sun, you will still maintain the same relative angles and distances in both of those systems.
But
So
you have a
what would
big
be the
problem
difference?
during
Question here.
sunset and sunrise
Important
because that
question,
sun
sorry.
is farther away at sunset or close to sunset than it is from the North Pole down to the sun.
No,
And the
it's
reason
not.
for that being, yes, it is. Take a look at the
Do you
distance
not
at the
believe in
time.
relative motion?
Jesus, you don't understand what you're saying. You're talking about a flat Earth and a sun
I'm
that's
not.
rotating.
Angelo,
Oh, you're
who's that?
not.
I'm not
So
talking
you're
about
saying it's a
FE. Like, have you
globe.
lost the plot, bro? I've said 6 times. I'm talking about a globe
I
geocentric
don't.
I think
model.
Okay,
Roohif
I
is
want to
trying to
know.
say something.
It's
Yeah, I've got a
important that
good
I'm
question
bringing
for you,
this up.
Piezo.
Go ahead.
Piezo said he took all the other planets out, so we've just got the Earth and the Sun, right? Now, is it equivalent in that situation to say the Earth is going around the Sun? Is that equivalent to saying the Sun goes around the Earth?
They'd
in
be
that system?
kinematically equivalent.
Okay. All right. So now let's add back in all the planets into your Tychonic model. So you got all the planets orbiting the Sun, and the Earth just happens to be the center, and the Sun orbits around it. Those are equivalent, then, right?
Yeah. You can draw a kinematic equivalence with a central sun a central Earth orbiting sun, and then planets orbiting the sun as
Right.
it
But
goes
it's
around Earth.
equivalent. The Earth orbiting the Sun in that is equivalent to the Sun orbiting the Earth. Therefore, you've got no grounds to say that the Earth is at the center.
No, the whole point of this conversation is that the evidence that he's putting forward for heliocentrism is not mutually exclusive. It would work equally well because they both are kinematically equivalent. You can't tell just from
Okay.
kinematics which one is true.
If you're talking if you're talking geocentric,
Hang on. You can't describe
sorry.
epicycles unless you go back into heliocentrism and then transform it back.
No, that's what you're presuming, that just because you can make things look ellipsoidal in a heliocentric model that they're true or preferred.
Yeah, well, show me epicycles on a
He's
Tychonic.
talking. Yeah, we have the retrograde motions are explained. All of that's explained.
They're orbiting
with
the sun.
Planets orbiting the sun and the sun orbiting the Earth.
Because
so
as the sun goes
are being
around,
carried by the suns.
right, as the sun goes around and the planets trace their arcs around the sun from the position of the Earth, it looks like they're chasing retrograde arcs around Earth because they're not actually orbiting Earth; they're orbiting sun.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why it appears that way.
Equivalent. That's
Not
equivalent
just
to
Tychonic.
heliocentrism.
There's a neo-Tychonic model that's kinematically dynamically equivalent. The Tychonic one alone is insufficient.
Yeah, you don't need epicycles in it. You don't need epicycles in the Tychonic.
Yeah, because it's just what appears to be like the spirals is just because it's projected in the Earth-centric frame.
Right. So everything except the Earth is orbiting the sun, right?
Yeah.
But we've just agreed that if it's only the sun and the Earth, then they are equivalent. So how are you saying that the Earth is at the center? You got no basis.
So that's a different question. That's a different question.
Dude,
so
you're arguing against Einstein, dude.
You're no. He's asking a different question. The question we were answering up in Roohif was give mutually exclusive proof for heliocentrism. That it wasn't give mutually exclusive proof for geocentrism. That question hadn't been asked yet. So
geocentrism can't do epicycles.
Dude, we just said that the Tychonic system does not have a problem with them because they're only apparent traces relative to the Earth position. It's not a problem.
Right. But Tychonic is equivalent to heliocentric. There's no difference.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're saying.
That's the whole
we're
point.
talking past each other. Yeah,
literally no difference.
Hold on, dude. Both frames are valid. Both reference frames are valid, kinematically and dynamically. That's the point, dude.
Special pleading.
Thank you.
Special pleading for the Earth to be at the center.
How is it special pleading? That doesn't even make sense.
Because we've agreed that if it's just those two, then they're equivalent.
Yeah, so you can't prefer one over the other.
You're
saying they're equivalent, so we pick the sun
in the Tychonic model.
Dude, you literally are saying you're acknowledging that they're equivalent, but then you're saying equivalent means I just get to arbitrarily pick the sun as the preferred frame. That doesn't make any sense, Riv.
When everything, if I have a system where everything revolves around one, right? That's preferred over a system where everything except my chosen reference frame rotates around the sun.
That's just your subjective preference.
It's special pleading.
No, it's not. That's your subjective preference.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you think, hold on. You think that if I was to design a world in which there's this thing in the center, and then there's this big glowy yellow thing that orbits it, which carries a bunch of other little orbs around it, that's not possible. Someone looks at that and says, "Oh, well, it must mean the thing in the center is orbiting the yellow thing too, just because the other things do." Like that's not related.
Yeah. You've arbitrarily chosen your frame as the preferred one.
Well, it's not arbitrary. All the measurements of motion
is.
show that we're not moving.
Which is preferred when everything orbits around one thing, or
Roohif,
everything except
they're
you orbits around
literally
one thing?
equivalent. You are arguing against the mainstream model right now by saying
No,
that
I'm not.
kinematic equivalence means sun is the center.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense.
Let's phrase it in a different way. Can I construct a Tychonic model, but instead of the Earth, I'll have Mars as the center of that? Is that equally as valid?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
But that's what.
Yeah,
that's what
so
we're saying,
Roohif-
though, that there's no
Yeah, the
preferred
point,
reference
Roohif.
frame.
Roohif, it seems like you're agreeing. So now there is the lack of exclusivity for the heliocentric. So at this point, what I would think, anyways, like in a way, if you're agreeing that there's no exclusivity just on some of these bases
No,
you're talking
I'm
about,
saying they're equivalent.
Hold on. If you're saying there's some equivalency and therefore not exclusivity within one, for some of these factors like the kinematics, the motion, the retrograde, etc., that those are interchangeable, then it would have to go to, okay, well then why think
Missing
it's
the point.
heliocentric when there's no actual proof of any motion? So it goes back to like first principles and foundations. So if there's nothing that's required to make it heliocentric, the challenge heliocentrism has is you have to prove motion, the massive amounts of motion, and that we're actually orbiting around the entire sun and all of those factors. Whereas from the geocentric, it's just at default, the Earth doesn't have motion. Therefore, that would be preferred because of that.
Missing the point.
That's what you would have to address. Or it would have to be
Missing the point.
addressed, not you, but whoever would have to be addressed.
It's what's crazy is
The
Roof's been
Tychonic
through this
model-
stance like 100 times and still like tries to take this position as if it's honest when he knows that the position he's taking is silly.
Go fuck yourself, Piezo. Seriously.
No, let's not go
The
personal.
point
Let's not go
is-
personal. Let's keep going.
Okay. The point that you're missing,
concur.
Gio, is that there isn't a neo-Tychonic model. It just is heliocentrism, but arbitrarily you've chosen yourself as the reference frame.
Dude, no, it's
Yeah.
not. It was geocentrism for way longer than it was heliocentrism.
That would be
Okay.
special
It's kinda
pleading.
what
It's
his-
funny that he accused us of special pleading, but that is textbook special pleading, dude.
I was going to say that earlier. Yeah, you're actually doing.
We
what
are
is the
actually
preferred?
being charitable and trying to say that they're both valid reference frames. You're trying to say that no, only the heliocentric one is valid, and you have no actual justification. You don't actually have evidence for that. That's textbook special pleading.
What is preferred where everything orbits around one thing, or everything except you happen to be orbiting around one thing?
Everything
What is
except me.
preferred?
That's the one I prefer. See, and you have a different
Sure you
preference.
do.
So we just have different preferences. It's a matter of preference. See how that's not an argument?
Yeah, I meant preferred in an Occam's razor kind of way.
Occam's razor is not a scientific argument. It's a subjective
Okay.
preference.
All right,
It's a
now we're back
logical-
into fucking
Yeah, I mean,
sophistry
I
bullshit.
might have
Logical
said-
argument, so don't go down that road. You've lost it already.
I may have alluded to something akin to that simply because if there's no evidence of any motion, then that would be like preferred in that sense as like a more foundational.
Yeah.
Because like, why go off something that doesn't have any validation in terms of
I would say,
motion?
Geo, I would say, Geo, that you have to prove that it's a physical reference frame because the only evidence we have for a physical reference frame that we can actually take reference from is the Earth. We can't prove that it's a physical place on the moon or the sun or any of those stars that you could stand on and actually say, yeah, that's a physical reference frame. So that's why Earth has to be the center.
Yeah, and can I tap onto that real quick, Roohif, and send it back if you want to respond to this? But because I was going to say this before, right, on the tail of you saying that, Carlos. So if like the thing that both systems, heliocentric and geocentric, have the geocentric. So even in heliocentrism, you can treat the globe Earth as the center, like you are here. Like wherever we are, all of us are right now on the Earth. On the globe model, you can say, I am in the center of my own entire world. And you can map the system that way. Astronomically, you can do it. and basically just from right where you are, everything that surrounds you. So what I'm saying is that heliocentrism and geocentrism both have geocentrism in them. So heliocentrism shares the geocentrism. It has to because it's an offshoot from it, and the one that contains both is the.
How does a geocentric Earth
It's
explain?
Dachio.
It's an
Dachio
indication.
Right.
Dachio combines both because in Dachio, the sun and the moon orbit the Earth, but the rest of the planets orbit on a different plane around the sun.
Yeah, it's a problem I'm about to ask. You know, with the geocentric model, how do you model or explain the orbits of the planets? You're just talking about the sun, and if you're just using only the sun, then you probably could have a good argument for it's possible to have the seasons. But when you start observing the rest of the celestial objects, and how do you get a geocentric model with the way the motion of the other objects?
You don't.
The planets don't have any effect. You can look up on YouTube, bro. The planets literally go around the sun, and the sun goes around the Earth as it would in the heliocentric model. It looks exactly the same.
Well, then you have a problem with distance, because if they're going around a sun, they're not.
Yeah, they
because if they're on, no, they're not.
You're just not understanding. It's not an argument. Saying no, it's not over and over doesn't make you right. You're factually wrong. How much money do you want to bet? I'll put any amount out of my bank account that you want right now.
$1 million.
How much money do you want to bet that we can go pull up right now a paper or a simulator that will demonstrate it all with the same numbers plugged in for distance?
So when the sun is on at its farthest point from us, and it just happens that Mars happens to be on its orbit closest to us, okay, where is Mars and how far is it from us when you have a
I don't know,
a geocentric Earth?
What the same as the heliocentric model?
Yeah, we'd have to look up the formula.
And when it's on the other side of the sun?
They have the formulas, dude. The math works out exactly the same, dude.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, you thinking that there's not a kinematic equivalence, you're actually
Except the
disagreeing
problem
with
is
Einstein,
you don't get
bro.
the retrograde motion of those particular planets when they go back. If you had a geocentric Earth, you won't have. You wouldn't have that.
No, we also have the retrograde motions explained in the neotectonic model, dude. Because it's all about your reference frame, right? Just like relative motion, it appears that the planets are moving backwards, but really they're moving the same direction. It's just because of the way that the observer observes the luminary from our perspective. It looks like it's moving backwards or processing backwards. Yeah, it's just right. It's just relative motion, dude.
So I'll say real quick on retrograde. So in the heliocentric model, the retrograde happens. So you got the sun in the middle, and the mainstream model right now, Mercury, Venus, etc. And basically, let's say you have the Earth on one side of the sun. So the Earth and then the sun. When Venus comes between the Earth and the sun, when it gets closest to the Earth, that's when it'll be retrograde. Same with Mercury. And for one of what they call the planets beyond the Earth, like Mars, basically when both the Earth and let's say Mars or Jupiter or any of those, when they're both on the same side of the sun, so you have like those two and then the sun, when they're closest to each other, that's when the retrograde happens in the heliocentric model. It's like two cars passing on the road, basically. So when they get closest to each other, always when they're closer and when they're on the same side of the sun, is when they at that peak is when they go retrograde. Well, in the neotectonic, like we're talking about, when you have that same solar system thing, but you put an Earth at the middle of it, the Earth in the middle, it still happens when those other planets, as it were, get close. When they're the closest to each other in relation to its position of the sun. So it is equivalent, the retrograde, in terms of those two. It's the same two bodies in relation to the sun, and when they're closest to each other was when it's like they pass each other in their cycles. I'm not saying that is what, I don't think this is what this realm is, but I'm just saying that in terms of that model.
It couldn't not be equivalent. Like, it literally could not be, or else physics would be doomed. I feel like the failure
apparently
to
the explanation for the retrograde that you guys are jumping all over about, you basically have to invent epicycles, mini cycles that the planets travel on.
That's Ptolemy.
This is what you guys are doing.
Not for this here. I posted an image real quick. It shows So when the Earth is in the center there, so
wheels within wheels.
Whenever a body, yeah. So like in that setup right there, let's say the sun, and then the Earth is the thing that's actually in the center, and these are all going around it. So like that little object that looks like it's just like to the upper right of the Earth there, that must be Mars. So when Mars is going to get right to where it's like lined up, almost like a eclipse in that model, when you have like a solar eclipse, the sun, moon, and Earth are all lined up. Well, when the sun, Earth, and Mars are all lined up, you get the retrograde essentially, and when they're on the same side of the sun like that. So as that Mars, well, it looks like it might have just completed it, but anyway, so yeah, that's why it's equivalent in that one. It's the same kind of solar system layout, and when it's just
it doesn't explain
only
that,
the
though.
difference of whether the Earth is going around the sun or the sun's going around the Earth.
Dude, like it's just like, here's the thing, bro. We're being gracious and charitable to you. You're actually wrong, but like we're not trying to rub it in your face. We're just trying to help you and like make you better and more refined in your position.
Right. Okay.
If you don't believe in kinematic equivalence, you literally disagree with Einstein and all of modern physics. They're just equivalent.
The one that Geo posted isn't the one we're talking about either, but it's all good. Well, that's not the one I'm talking about. That's the old one.
Well, that has because that has the Earth in the center, even though it kind of.
No, it has the sun.
Well, no, it depends on how you look at it. It's just you're just looking at the sun, right, as being the center, but you can just look at where the Earth is and think that that circle, the small tight circle, not the small one, like the medium-sized circle around the Earth, like that the sun is attached to. That's the circle that the sun is tracing around the Earth in that picture.
I grabbed it from this little short, so I'll post it. There's like a little animation on there. You can see how the Earth is the thing that's centered on the animation.
There you go.
There's a bunch of other ones out there too that show this.
How do you guys explain the problem with physics and gravity with a geocentric model?
Because in the rotating universe, right, based on Mach's principle, the same centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces that would be generated in like the regular model would be generated by a rotating universe instead. And the only place in which there would be rigidity that wouldn't be subject to the being pulled away by the objects would be the center. Because whatever's in the center axis of rotation, in this case the Earth, would be held rigidly in place by the rotation of the universe, while every other object that's off center would be out of that stable equilibrium and would be subject to the forces of gravity.
Gravitational vortices, fluid dynamics, literally.
I think you're running into a problem with the smaller objects and also the rest of the objects in there as far as how they affect gravitational forces, particularly the tides. You're going to run into problems with the other planets basically also messing with it. There's a lot of energy
they're always
requirement.
the same distance. So what, like, dude, every distance at every point in time is always the same distance in the heliocentric and geocentric
Well,
models.
the problem is that, if you're going to describe the sun orbiting the Earth, you have to have a physics reason for doing it. You have to demonstrate some logical physics explanation.
The entire universe is rotating.
Explaining it.
This video shows it too. This video shows it.
Maxwell's equations with Mach's principle, right? Actually resolves all the problems that you guys have right now regarding dark energy, dark matter, expansion. It does away with all of that.
You're dumping off on a different entire subject.
No, dude,
not
no,
even
bro.
what
I'm trying to explain to you, dude, that you have actual dynamic forces, not fictitious. They're not pseudo. They're real dynamic forces, centripetal and centrifugal forces being administered to the luminaries. So the Coriolis force, right, the Coriolis effect is a real dynamic force, not a pseudo force based off of your reference frame.
Okay, if you have a rotating universe, okay, you would have to have a reason for this rotating universe.
Yes, of course.
When you watch the galaxies moving off in all directions, they're moving away from each other in all directions. You can't, the rotation is not, has to be happening along with that movement going off in all directions. Correct?
You're presupposing expansion.
I didn't ask you that. I was asking the other person who said this is a rotating universe. I want an explanation
So the
as to how
rotating.
you explain the
I'm
expansion.
answering. I'm here. I'm ready. So, yeah. So, well, let me first answer the rotating universe and then the expansion. It's a two-part question. But the it based on, like you said, Mach's principle, and then the four types of the rotating forces. If this universe was in rotation, it would sustain its rotation perpetually. The only thing that would be required that's any different from what's in there right now would be a prime mover to start it. So the system would simply have to be put into motion, and once it was in motion, it would continue perpetually. Now, the expansion is a separate question, but the expansion, there wouldn't be expansion because the reason the expansion exists is because when Hubble measured what he measured, the only two options that could explain it is either A, we're in the center, or B, everything's expanding everywhere in every direction, and it would look like that from anywhere. Anywhere would look like the center. So we would just take the first position, A, we're in the center. So we don't need expansion. You don't have to have a Hubble constant for expansion. Then you don't end up with the scales of the universe that they come up with that lead them to dark matter and energy and the errors that are associated with them.
You also have another problem. And I'm going to ask you this. First, you guys obviously you apparently believe in space or understand space as to be probably existing, correct?
I never claimed that. I'm talking
well, the universe is,
model right now.
Would you say the universe is an area of space?
I'm just using the conceptual model of space for argument's sake right now, and I'm proposing.
Okay, so this is not really what you guys are. So you're taking us down this rabbit hole about centric, world. I
told you this in the
I would
beginning.
answer that with, okay, if you have a geocentric satellite or anything in the Lagrange, any of the Lagrange points, and you took that observer from that point, looking back at the Earth, if that Earth is rotating, you got a problem. 24 hours every day. How do you explain the rotation of the Earth with a geocentric? And also, when that satellite turns around and looks out into space, those objects are no longer rotating around the Earth. They appear to be only rotating around the sun, and the Earth is moving along with them in that same direction around the sun. It shows the actual.
Yeah. So just to be clear, this model that has been referenced to you, this Tychonian system or whatever, you can make the Earth rotate in that one. Okay, you're allowed to make it. It's rigidly in place on the center axis.
How do you explain an outside body outside the Earth being able to observe that the sun is actually the center of the solar system?
It wouldn't be able to observe that anywhere in space you look.
It would have to be a fictitious object that's making a lie, right?
No, I'm saying like that you wouldn't. That's my point to you, is even if you flew out to space, even in the mainstream model right now, like in Einstein's model right now, if you were to get on a rocket ship and fly out in space, you couldn't tell what's quote unquote truly moving. There is no thing that's truly moving. Everything's relative.
You would notice differences. You would notice differences in the Earth. Yes, you would. You would notice Doppler shifts in the sun movement because not only is it moving around the Earth, okay, but you're no longer orbiting the Earth. You're just out there in space.
Argument. And so you're taking a preferred reference frame to take this argument.
You have to in order to basically to show
there's no
that
absolute motion, dude.
To basically show that this is not the model that actually we observe.
So do you disagree with relativity?
No, I don't disagree with relativity.
Well, your argument's disagreeing with it.
Not. I'm taking a reference point that's not moving around the Earth or orbiting.
There's no such thing.
You're being incoherent, guy. You're being completely incoherent.
You can move an object in space to keep it at its same reference point. You'd have to be aware of how the universe is rotating if you had a geocentric one, and be aware of how the universe is moving in a heliocentric one.
Once again,
once you've established that reference point. Yes, I am. Once you establish that reference point and you have a place that you can measure from, you will definitely see that the Earth is actually moving around the sun.
Yeah, once again, in a geocentric universe, you have absolute space and time. In a heliocentric universe, you don't have those at all. But either way, if you're in a geocentric universe... How
do you not have that?
In a heliocentric universe?
Yes.
There's no absolute space and time
relativity.
and relativity. Yeah.
Okay, go
No
on.
absolute space, no absolute motion, no preferred reference
It's
frame.
literally in his 1905 paper. There is no such fixed reference point in space where there's like where motion can be measured relative to. You can't assign
Because space
velocity
is
vectors.
constantly moving, is why.
Well, you can't assign velocity vectors to points in empty space. And no, space is not moving in that frame. It's that there's no way to measure space itself because there's no fixed grid in space. They didn't invent universal expansion wasn't invented yet when Einstein came out with that theory. That was
One of the
decades later.
things, right? And so when you do have universal expansion, what did they do when they ran the clock backwards?
What did they? You would say that you would have come to a point where it was all a singularity.
And what point is that in space and time?
I don't know, the Big Bang.
The center point.
But
from all
with the
the
Hubble,
references of all the galaxies, they're all going off in all different, all expanding in all different directions. The majority of them came from a singular point. All of energy and mass came from a singular point. Some forms of energy, excuse me, some forms of energy caused basically galaxies to move in a different direction, maybe interactions with black holes or whatever it is, and they're not exactly moving from the center point anymore because they got diverted. But the majority of the material and matter in the universe is all expanding in the same direction away from a centralized point. Roll the clock backwards, you have a point of reference to go from, which means you can make any point of reference from that point of reference to observe how the other objects behave. And when you look at the solar system, you'll realize that the Earth is actually going around the sun.
Great Angelo, in the Hubble, the CMB, you know that the Earth or the Milky Way is uncomfortably at the center of the universe?
It isn't. It isn't. You can look at it again and you'll realize we're not. We're part of a galaxy cluster that is reasonably close from a universal scale compared to the other galaxies, but we are not. We're a younger
Actually, it's
galaxy,
the
and that's
ecliptic
why.
plane of the solar system. It's not our galaxy, it's our solar system.
Have you ever heard of the axis of evil?
The reason why it's the ecliptic plane of our solar system is
the
because we're the observing
CM
point. That's why.
No.
The CMB is a good example
The
because
quadrupole and octupole distributions show it.
by measuring
We should look at that
shift,
again.
we know that we are moving in relation to the CMB.
No,
that's right.
Not true.
That doesn't even, number one, that doesn't make sense because that's just relative motion again. And number two, no, they're aligned. The CMB and both the quadrupole and octupole alignments are aligned with the ecliptic plane of Earth in the solar system, which is to a 99.9% unlikelihood. This is acknowledged.
What they do is they'll use the CMB, the extremity of the visible universe, as their reference point. They call it a pseudo-fixed reference point because even then, it's not absolute, right? That's just the best reference point that they could use. That's what they use for sidereal rotation. They actually group a bunch of quasars, I believe, as a quasi-pseudo-fixed reference point, which is basically the background. Yeah, the background.
Dude, did you know that they measured negative parallax in quasars, Lion? And then
I heard that.
Yeah, then they had to set it. They had to set it back to positive because it conflicted with their model that you're zeroed out.
Could you cite that where they measure the negative? How do you get a negative parallax?
That's exactly the point. Well, just like you measure positive parallax, but it's in the wrong direction.
Just like
well, parallax is parallax. Yeah, parallax is parallax. There's no positive and negative there.
The mathematical equations that they do are incredibly insane because we're talking about like fractions of a milliarc, dude. It's like.
All right. So in the answer to the CMB problem about being in the absolute center, that's actually not true because if the Milky Way galaxy is moving relative to the CMB about 600 kilometers per second towards the constellation Virgo, if we were in the center, we wouldn't see any Doppler. We wouldn't see no dipole effect, a slight blue shifting, in other words.
No, the Doppler shift stuff is disproven too.
Well, you know what? You can go right ahead. How did you disprove the Doppler effect?
You should read Halt and Arp's book, Seeing Red. He explains all the anomalous observations he made. Halton Arp.
Halton, he was the static universe guy, wasn't he?
He's the guy who, how it all started is he just made a bunch of observations of several stars, pulsars, quasars, galaxies, etc.
He's very controversial. He's
that
not accepted by the general consensus of the
so he
scientific
was
community. So
actually
he's a little
highly
out of his realm, isn't he?
yeah. So he was actually highly celebrated before he posted these discoveries. Like he was very highly regarded.
So was
And
Bobby Fischer before he
and-
went nuts too.
And well, so that's the thing is he didn't make any claims about what this meant, right? He literally just posted data. It was just, I measured the Doppler shift of these stars. I measured the Doppler shift of these quasars. Here is what it was. And the numerics of the measurement was completely incongruent with the mainstream model. He was getting blue shift where it should have been red shift. He was getting red shift that was way higher on things that were closer and smaller on things that were farther away. It was just all over the place. And people basically blackballed his career over it. And because of that, and he became disgruntled and frustrated, and then he wrote a bunch of books like, okay, I wasn't going to say what the implications of this were, but now that you wanted to go and try to do all that to me, I'm going to say them explicitly, and he wrote books about it. So, but you should read his books, because like I said, it's literally he just took measurements of redshift, and it doesn't match what's required and necessary by the mainstream model for the redshift hypothesis to be true.
Where did he get that from? Just out of curiosity.
Whatever observatory it was he worked out of, I guess.
Yeah, but what was he looking at?
You can read what specific stars and quasars and clusters.
Yeah, he said redshift quasars were physically connected to low redshift galaxies, which would mean that Hubble's law was wrong. That's what they basically disproved that. The bridge debunked, and the higher resolution images from the Hubble Space Telescope eventually showed that most of these bridges were optical illusions. So he was wrong there also. The absorption proof in the case of the NG 4319 and Markian 205, most famous pair, astronomers found that the light from the connected quasar was being absorbed by the galaxy's gas, which basically threw off all of his conclusions.
Yeah,
so he
I'm
was
glad
basically debunked on all of them.
I'm glad that you can read off ChatGPT in 15 seconds.
No,
and
that
just
wasn't
tell me how wrong
ChatGPT. That was actually a Wikipedia entrance. So nice
okay.
try.
Yeah, I'm
The
glad
other one
that
was
you can read off
Encyclopedia
Wikipedia in 15
Britannica, and the
seconds.
third one was Astronomy Magazine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm
This
sure
is
that
this is yeah, but
I
hang
can
on.
also pull
This
up
is
dark energy
this
and
is not
matter from
yeah.
Wikipedia and
This
Encyclopedia
is not the first
Britannica.
time. This is
Right.
not the first time I've heard about the Halton orb. So what we were saying
I'm
is,
sure
and
you
this,
believe in dark matter and energy too,
hang
right?
on, could I finish? This if I remember correctly, it also had something to do with his statistical calculation, which was wrong.
Well, no, they were also just raw measurements of redshift that were incongruent because the values and magnitudes were reversed, or in some cases, blue shift where it should have been red, and vice versa. There's a whole list of different things. Like I said, that's why you should get his book, because he has like a giant list of things that were problems. Instead of
as I said, I've heard about him before, but I also read I can't remember the exact detail, but why his measurements are not up to par.
Yeah, I'm sure if you go to Wikipedia, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, well, there's actually a gas cloud that was diffracting the light, and that's what messed it up, and he didn't know it. He was actually doing good work. He just didn't realize." And blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, sure, and also 96% of the universe is made of nothing, right? I mean, there's dark matter and energy that makes up 96% of the universe, but we can't even detect one single bit of it after 60 years, no matter how hard we try, because it's made up. Like,
is it made up, or is it based on the current models we have?
Dude,
yeah, it's made up.
It's literally what dark matter and energy literally is. This is where it came from. Based on the Hubble expansion constant, it set a scale for the universe by assuming everything's expanding. That means that the further you get away, the greater the expansion becomes. Now, once you start looking at the things that are the furthest things away that we can see, like super far away spiral galaxies and stuff, you realize that these things are so super massive and they're rotating so fast that they don't have enough matter or energy to hold themselves together, yet they're not flying apart. So they said,
yeah, but
this
the question is here.
Fit. Hold on, I'm almost done. This does not fit the conventional gravitational models of either Newton or Einstein, what's up? Because these things should fly apart at blinding speed because it doesn't make sense. They quantified how much matter and energy there would need to be in order to make it work. If they were to just say, okay, well, we're wrong with what we think is there, so what would have to be there for it to work? They found that
Yeah,
over
because the current model. Hang
96%
on,
of the hold on, I'm almost done. Over 96% of the entire universe would have to be made of some exotic substance that's never been measured, defined, quantified, described at all. Like it doesn't even exist. They just said this is how much error we have. So in order to say that our model's not wrong, our error would have to be filled in by some other stuff that's not there. Let's say this other stuff, we'll call it dark matter. That's all it is. That's all dark matter is. It's just a quantification of error.
Not to
It's
be
the
overly
effect.
pedantic, but you're
It's the effect
conflating.
that has been observed, like the bending of light from behind galaxies bend more than expected to baryonic matter.
Yeah,
That's
we
another
could explain.
example
Yeah,
for why. That's another example why our current model today is incorrect.
we have explanations for this.
You do?
If you understand, if you understand that space
Good
isn't
ones.
a vacuum devoid of matter, but instead it's substantive, right? There's a substrate there, and that substrate isn't static. Like the Michelson-Morley experiment, they believed that you had they were trying to falsify, right?
God damn.
A static luminiferous ether, right? Instead,
What'd they
they
find?
thought that the Earth was in motion around the sun through a static luminiferous ether. That
What
was a
did they
classic
find?
idea. That was what people believed hundreds of years prior. They found that there wasn't a static luminiferous ether, right? But if you consider a dynamic luminiferous ether, one that is in motion, and the Earth is fixed and stationary, that changes everything, right?
They
Because
didn't
if you
find
have
that
a
either.
substantive medium that's in motion, you have something known as centrifugal convergence and centripetal divergence, which can produce the same effects that you guys see in your model known as redshift and blue shift. We can show that this is the case with electromagnetism, or when light flows through water, or even wind for that matter, can affect and compress the wavelength or stretch the wavelength, causing redshift or blue shift. Not just your position to the light, right? If the light is moving towards you or moving away from you, but also the fact that light is traveling through a substantive medium, causing redshift and blue shift, and the refraction or bending of light. No problem.
So what you're saying is the absorption lines are redshifted if they go pass through the atmosphere.
He's not saying atmosphere. He's saying they're ether.
Yeah, I
It's
think
called
you mentioned
ether flow, dude. Ether flow.
So that would mean then that the direction of this flow has to change every 6 months.
It's always changing actually.
Oh, it's always changing. So we should see the change of blue shift and red shift all the time during the year.
Yeah.
So like Andromeda should be at one time it should be red shifted, the next time it should be blue shifted. But what we do observe is that it's only blue shifted.
No, it doesn't mean that it should be redshifted and should be blue shifted just because the direction. Like you're thinking when I say direction change that I mean like a 180-degree flip. I'm not saying 180-degree flip. I'm saying that the toroidal field lines, like Earth's geomagnetic field, right, drifts slowly over time. If you go take a compass map, your true north declination 1 year will be different 2 years later. And so, just as in the way that Earth's geomagnetic field gradually changes, there are gradual changes in the ether flow and the ether winds around the Earth.
So, and
what
that
is
effect,
funny about that drift of
is
Earth's
that
magnetic field is not even 1 degree, just like a pendulum's swing.
does this ether then follow the geomagnetic field, sort of?
I wouldn't know.
The point is that there's various reasons for redshift and blue shift. It could be multiple factors causing those effects. Your position to those objects, your relative position, are they moving towards you or they're moving away from you? That's going to cause attenuation, right? Or just the fact that they're moving through a medium and that medium is flowing.
Right. That's the point he's making is that like your causation claim for redshift and blueshift is not mutually exclusive to the object casting light moving further away or closer or whatever.
I mean,
It
your
could also
relationship
be.
seems to be the only reason for that happening. Like you're positing a bunch of other stuff, but is there any way to like actually correlate those?
Yeah. The point is if you were to have a medium flowing through that path towards or away from, or at least substantially towards or away from a non perfectly perpendicular component to that light flow, it would produce the same effect depending on which direction that off axis flow of that medium was going.
So is
So
that
how do you
medium
get
then
points
moving
from?
so that medium would then be either moving away from us or towards us to have these effects, wouldn't it?
Well, there's like a giant circulation happening, but within that circulation, there's various different lines going in various different directions, right? And so, if you
Yeah, so
had,
but we should but then we should
it's
observe
like the
this, shouldn't
winds,
we?
just like the winds blow in so many different directions, you know?
Yeah, but then the red and blue shift should change as these patterns change.
So
Well,
let me explain it to you like this, right? Because you guys
More than
presuppose that
that,
the
we shouldn't
universe
see.
you're using hold on, you're using redshift as evidence for the universe expanding, correct? Correct?
That is one of them, yes.
Okay. Do you think that there could be other causes for redshift besides the universe expanding, which is retarded? But can you at least concede that?
You'd have to
Gravity.
demonstrate them.
Yeah, I'm trying to
you
explain
can't
it to you.
demonstrate the universe expanding. That's the point. It's not
I'm
mutually
trying to explain it to you,
exclusive.
dude.
That is the demonstration of the
So
universe
hold on,
expanding.
let me just explain it to you, bro. All right. So, are there other things that could cause redshift? And do we have like proofs of concept
Possibly.
in our local reality? Right. Yes, we
No.
do. Like we have light attenuation. That's why when the sun sets, right, you have
No, but that's
light.
not redshift. If it's not the
It's an
color of light,
example,
it's
dude.
the
It's an example,
it's
bro.
it's the way the absorption lines in the light is moving. There's nothing to do with basically the color.
It's like
in
a
that
Doppler
respect.
shift, actually.
Bro, it's just an it's just an example, dude. So the sun is moving away, right, causing the last frequencies, which is the deep red, photo red, right, infrared. Those are the last frequencies to be attenuated, right? Why is that?
They're also the first though during sunrise.
Yeah, no, but that hasn't anything to do with redshift and blue shift.
It's just an analogy, dude.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with blue and redshift.
It actually does. It actually does because you
No,
can
it
get
doesn't.
redshift. You can get redshift from objects moving away. You can get redshift from light moving towards you through a medium because let's say that light, right? We had full spectrum of light that's traveling through a medium. Let's say that the object, from you to the object, let's say from you to the sun for this experiment or this thought experiment, you're both stationary, right? The only thing that's moving is the light that's propagating towards your eye. That light has to travel through a substantive medium, right? By the time it reaches your eye, even though neither you or the sun are moving, what's going to happen to that light? It's going to become what? Attenuated, right? Why?
Can you show?
Why
Can
is
you
it
show any
attenuated?
examples of an
Boys, it's 4
object moving
o'clock.
towards
I'm
you?
gonna go to bed.
Right,
Yeah.
Piezo,
Can you
peace,
show any example of an object moving towards you having a redshift?
Yeah, I mean, it's like these people believe in dark matter is 96, and dark matter and energy is 96% of the universe, bro. It's like it's proven because it has to be.
Yeah, I was going to
Well,
correct you on that earlier.
So,
it's
hold
like
on, bro. I'm not.
Again, I want to
just
point
like
out
the
we don't
Higgs
believe
boson.
That's not my
anything.
argument. I'm not talking about
See you
objects
guys.
moving towards you creating redshift. I'm simply stating
You
here
can't-
that both
exactly
you
what you
and the
said.
object, the sun, in this experiment are stationary. Neither of you guys are moving.
Mhm.
But that
So if you had
doesn't affect. That will not give us any red or blue shift.
if you had a guy in the sun and a guy on the earth, and neither of you guys are moving, right? You got light traveling in both directions. Let's say you got light traveling from the sun to the earth, or the earth from the sun. Would you experience blue shift and red shift, or blue shift or red shift if neither are moving? Which one would you experience? It would only be what? It would only be red shift.
Yeah, the
It would only be
gravitational redshift.
Why
of
would
sunlight
it only
has
be
been
redshift?
the gravitational redshift of sunlight has been measured.
Hold on, dude. I'm
We know
trying to
that.
just for a thought experiment, real quick,
Yeah,
dude.
well,
Just work
if you're
with
not
me for a
yeah,
second,
if
guy.
you're not
You're
moving,
not
if
being
you're not
charitable at all, dude. You
no
guys aren't working
if
with me.
if you have two stationary person, let's say one at the sun and one at the moon, and none of them are moving, you will not get a red or blue shift.
So what are you gonna get? Full
You're not
spectrum?
going to get a red or blue shift.
No, you will. If you in this thought experiment, there's a substantive medium enough to attenuate the light.
But attenuation
has
nothing to do with red shift and blue shift.
It does. As light is
Attenuation.
traveling, I'll explain, dude. As light is traveling through a medium, right? You have frequencies that are long, have long wavelengths, and then you have frequencies that are short wavelengths. The short wavelengths are going to get obscured quicker. They're going to be diffused or attenuated quicker, right? Versus the longer wavelengths that are able to permeate and penetrate that medium far longer.
That wouldn't cause a shift.
So by the
But
as
that's
they
not-
as hold on, dude, as the light is traveling, right, over distance, by the time it reaches your eyeballs or your sensor, the only frequencies left are going to be the long wavelengths. So the deep reds, photo reds, infrareds, and that's redshift, dude.
Light
No,
cannot-
you guys are
It wouldn't
moving.
be shift.
There's
No, it's
nothing moving
not.
in this experiment. There is nothing moving, not the medium, not you or the sun.
Light
There's nothing
cannot
moving.
go through attenuation through a true vacuum. That doesn't happen. If there's any particulate matter in the vacuum, then you'll have slight attenuation. But that doesn't explain whether you have redshift or not. For objects that are not moving, there's not going to be any redshift as a result of that. Slight attenuation might cause a little bit of a redshift, but not one that could be measured. So good luck with that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, if it's attenuation, I wouldn't be
it was a
redshift. Like those are two different things.
Hold
The
on, guys.
absorption lines would not
hold on,
change.
guys. Hold on, guys. It
Could
was
I
a
finish,
crude
please?
experiment.
Yeah,
It was a
the-
crude thought experiment, right? Very crude. It was
Yes,
just
and I'm trying to
demonstrate that
explain
you
to
guys
you
aren't
why it
even
doesn't-
being charitable. You guys aren't even willing to work with this thought
stop
experiment.
with your tin
Just
cup.
to show you that. Just
Yeah,
to show
well,
you
yes,
that it's not
okay,
exclusive to expansion. You
addressed-
can have redshift due to other causes, and I'm trying to show
Can he
you
answer
how.
you now, please?
And this guy
Yes.
brought up the vacuum.
Could you explain to
Dude,
me how
why'd you bring up
redshift
the
is
vacuum?
measured?
Hold
Explain
on,
to us
why'd
how
Angelo
the
bring up the vacuum?
redshift is measured. No. Explain how you use absorption lines in red and blue shifts of light.
I just did, dude.
No, what you're talking about is attenuation and how the light, the different wavelengths are stopped by the atmosphere. That's not has nothing basically to do with redshift and blue shifts of the absorption lines.
Dude, you can get redshift due to multiple causes. Right?
Like what?
Explain to me. Do you think that redshift is like when you have a sunset, that the light, which is pinkish reddish, is due to redshift?
It's very similar.
It's
the
not.
way that you're measuring a frequency of light. Are you not?
No.
It's the energy of the light and the absorption lines.
When we're talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, is that not light?
That is light, but that's not what redshift and blue shift
Why
are.
are you guys being pedantic?
Because
you're getting the terms wrong. These words mean things.
Blue shift.
So, okay, when we're measuring redshift when it comes to the CMB, what are you measuring, Manufactotum?
The location of the absorption lines on that spectrum.
Okay, but what is the CMB? What is it?
Cold dark matter.
Cosmic microwave background radiation.
Yeah, it's radiation, right?
Yep.
Radiation.
And when you do spectroscopy, you will have absorption lines, and you can compare those absorption lines in a lab, and you will see how those absorption lines of the CMB, one side of us is moved towards the red side, and on the other side is moved towards the blue side. So we are moving away from one side of the CMB and towards the other side of the CMB.
You guys are being difficult. We can't get through this if you guys aren't willing to just be charitable. You're like denying your own model at this point. You're denying that radiation is light. You're denying light attenuation. You're denying other possibilities for redshift. You're just being disingenuous, guys.
It sounds to me that you actually don't know how one measure the redshift and the blue shift. Can you explain to us how that is measured?
Yeah, you measure the CMB, and within the CMB, you'll have areas of redshifting. The majority is redshift. There's slight blue shift anomalies, but the majority is redshift. Now, the reason is, why is that? When you measure the frequency of light, that's the question. What's causing the redshift?
No, my question was what method do one use when one try to measure red and blue shift? How is that done?
I'm not entirely sure what sensor you're asking me. Like, what sensors they're using, the instrumentation.
Yeah, it's a simple explanation.
I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with the instrumentation, but they're measuring light. They're measuring the color.
I posted an image in the chat for you.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Red shift and blue shift, correct.
Right.
So right there, what is that? What is that?
So these certain elements create certain patterns, right? Of these lines. If you know what you're looking at, you know what element you're looking at, these lines should appear in a specific place in that spectrum. If they appear to one side or the other side, we can tell that thing is we say it's redshifted. What that shows us is that thing is moving in relationship to us, either towards us or away from us. That's essentially a Doppler effect.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. It's not exclusive to motion, though. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So here,
so
I'm
what
gonna
else causes it?
This is what you guys are. You guys are constantly in denial. We just have to go over this over and over and over again. Even though you've been in this game for years, dude. But you just play dumb. I don't know why you guys do this.
Well, no, because you've never given us an alternative. What's the other thing that causes it?
Hold on, dude. Can we agree that when you're looking at what are you looking at when you're looking at the spectrum? What is this?
At the spectrum, like these are across the electromagnetic spectrum. That's what you're asking.
The electromagnetic spectrum, which is what? The energy, the wavelength. See how it says energy right here in wavelength? You see that? You got the blue, you got the red, right? What is that?
To explain it in a simplistic way, those absorption lines, the wavelength of them changes if they're moving towards us or away from us. If they're moving towards us, they are more energetic and have shorter wavelengths. If they're moving away, they have a longer wavelengths and less energy.
You're not answering my question, dude. We had to lay down the groundwork before we can even move on, dude. Because if we can't agree on the fundamentals, dude, we're not moving on from this step, dude.
Yeah, but I just told you
we have to literally go through the elementary principles of physics just so we can have a discussion. Because you guys are like incredibly uncharitable.
What's your question?
Is this light?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jesus Christ, dude. All right. So with that being said, right, when light is traveling, right, through a medium, what could happen to that light?
Well, to have a redshift to blue shift, it would need to slow down or speed up.
Is it possible, regardless of motion, that when light is traveling through a medium, it can be attenuated? Yes or no?
Attenuation is different. Attenuation is where something dims, right? You have less of it, not at a different position, though. They're two wholly different things. You can have attenuation. I'm not being pedantic. You're calling this attenuation. That's different. Yes, you can have attenuation through medium, but that's not redshift. It's not blue shift. Those are two wholly separate things. It's not just pedancy. They're different things.
Why does attenuation happen?
Due to energy of the wavelength.
There has to be something between the observer and the source of light for attenuation to occur. That's the only thing. It has nothing to do with the Doppler shift or the shift of light, the red shifting of light, or for that matter, the blue shifting of light.
Absolutely. Well, that's been my point, right? If you heard originally, if you actually were listening, I said that there's a background medium, and that medium is substantive. The luminiferous ether that's dynamic is substantive, right?
But
so
again,
light is traveling through a medium. So when you guys measure redshift, it's no different than when light is traveling through a medium on Earth. It can be attenuated.
It is different.
It can be
attenuated to the point. Different.
it can be attenuated to the point where all you end up with are the long wavelengths, i.e., redshift. Thank you very much.
No, that's fine.
Class is now
So
over.
the image that I posted, the image that I posted above, right? The
Want
one
to
I
give a
posted
round
at
of
7
applause
minutes
for
after.
Lion?
Hold
Well
on,
done.
wait, wait, wait. So
Well done, Lion.
Lion. Hold on, Lion. You see the picture I posted at the fuck, my chat shifted. 7 minutes after, right? The red shifted, blue shifted thing. You see that?
Dude, yes, but it's 4:00 in the morning over here too.
Okay,
What's up, dude?
sure. No, super quick, super quick. So let's say that what you're saying is true, that that light attenuates. You take the top where it says red shifted, you would see everything to the left of the green, let's say, right? Sorry, you'd see everything to the right of the green. That would be the shorter wavelength. So you wouldn't see any shifting of those lines. Those lines would still be where we measure them. You just wouldn't see the entire spectrum. One of those things is attenuation. The other is redshift. They're not the same thing. You can have them side by side, but you can't say that because the light attenuates, that's what we perceive as redshift. They're two wholly separate things.
I understand that you have different explanations for them in your model, right? I'm just
They're
simply
just
showing you another possible cause besides the universe expanding, dude.
And I'm
The
telling
universe
you why
expanding
your proposed cause
isn't
doesn't
the
work.
exclusive cause to redshift. That's the only reason I brought this up, dude.
But,
And honestly, bro, the substantive medium isn't also the only exclusive explanation. There's other reasons, like relative
Well, there would
motion, dude,
have to be.
can also explain for redshift and blue shifting, dude.
But hang on.
What we said.
In the redshift and blue shift, when you go by the absorption lines, the wavelength of them changes. They get shorter, more energetic at blue, and longer wavelengths and less energetic at redshift. So going by your ether model, then this ether has to either slow down the light and stretch it out, or compress it. Just like, if a train is passing you and you go bing, 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 boom, 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 it's the same effect. So how does ether affect light in that way?
I gotta go, but the same way that like I said, when you have a medium, right, that's in motion, you'll have vortices that form, right? They call it eddy flows or ethereal vortexes. So when light is traveling through a vortex, you'll have the centripetal swirling that occurs around the nucleus. That's known that when light is traveling through the centripetal vortex, it would cause centripetal divergence, right? Causing, if I remember correctly, redshifting. It's off from the top of my head. And then you have light when it's traveling through the outer bands of the vortex. You have centrifugal convergence, and that's going to cause blue shifting. You got to understand that you're looking at the entire cosmos is a giant toroidal field, and light is propagating through that toroidal field inside of a substantive medium that's in motion.
What's this toroidal field made of? Is it ether? Is it electromagnetism? Is it magnetism? What?
It's I don't know the exact, like, if you're asking me for like the material, I'm not sure what it is.
So you don't know, but it could be there.
Not
That's
down to the
basically what you're
particle,
saying.
dude. No, dude.
But you
I
have
know
no
that it's
idea what it
mostly
is. No, but hang on. You have no idea what it is, but it could be. That's what you're saying.
It's a fluid. It's probably
Made of what?
hydrogen. It's probably water. Probably mostly hydrogen, but I can't confirm what it is.
That will affect the light that we see if it was hydrogen or if it was water.
It also would show up in spectrography.
It would.
Spectroscopy. Give me a break on that.
I have no idea what it is. I don't claim to know exactly what it's made out of.
You have no idea what it's made of, but it could be there. That to me says, well, it might just as well not be there.
But yeah, so you got centripetal divergence and centrifugal convergence. The converging flows, the converging flows will cause the wavelengths to be compressed and the diverging flow will cause the wavelengths to be stretched.
How? What's the process? What's forces is involved?
It's like actually they're looking into this right now, bro. With electric dynamic field theory and quantum field theory, where you actually have like relativity works really good with fluid dynamics. Like you can actually substitute a lot of the relativistic equations with Maxwell, and I forget the exact equations, but like I'm not an astrophysicist.
Maxwell? You mean magnetism and electromagnetism?
Yeah, you have
So what happened
medium,
to what happens to light passing through a strong magnetic field?
Well, according to
it gets polarized, doesn't it?
Not necessarily. That's what causes the light
Not
to
necessarily.
bend.
Yes, it does.
No,
That's what they observe. That's what they observe from galaxies as well when they look into the magnetic fields of them, and they can see how the light is polarized.
They first started measuring light bending around black holes, if I remember correctly, or during an eclipse. During an eclipse, they noticed the light bending around the sun due to its magnetic field. I mean, its gravitational field.
Yeah, Addington. Yeah, that was the first one. It was done when you had the eclipse in the U.S. Quite recently. There were people who did those tests, and what they found was that the closer the star was to the sun, the more the light was bent. The further away, the less it was. And they measured, I don't know, was it 150 stars or so at different distances? Different distances from the sun.
Well, think about a fluid, a substantive medium actually swirling around these massive objects, right? And then light's traveling through that medium. What happens when light travels through a medium? On Earth.
Attenuation, refraction.
Not only that, but refraction. It bends. Right? Light bends.
So
you guys say it bends around the curve, causing things to loom up, right?
But that doesn't change the red and blue shift.
What do you mean? Yes, it does.
The red and blue shift is basically the energy of the light coming towards you. So the more energetic the light is coming, those absorption lines which were shown to you would move towards the blue side, and the less energetic it moves towards the red side.
The red
Just
side.
like the example with the train and that whistle. It's the same
already, dude.
thing.
Yeah, the high frequency, the short wavelengths, right? Those are considered like higher in energy. Even the sounds, right? When it comes to like sounds, high pitch versus low bassy sounds. The low bassy sounds are longer wavelengths. They can permeate further, but they're not.
That was pretty good. Do that again.
Yeah, it was good. But that's basically what happened to light.
But just be charitable for a second.
It's the same.
If light
But you do agree that sound has to do with the speed. Let's say the train is moving first towards you and then away from you. It's quite analogous to redshift and blue shift. As the light, as an object coming towards you, the light will be blue shifted. And as it moves away, it gets redshifted.
Absolutely.
Exactly as the sound analogy.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. Yeah, your relative motion, right, to that object is going to cause either compression or stretching of the sound wave or the light wave, whatever the case may be. That's one possible cause. Or you could have both. You could have objects moving towards you or away from you, and light both, moving relative to the observer, but also because it's traveling through a medium that's also in motion relative to the observer. And that relative medium could be in motion towards you or against you.
But you don't know what
light
medium
attenuation
is.
cause blue shift?
You have to contend. No. you have to contend with both the background medium, that's substantive, that light has to propagate through, and the motion of the luminaries. There's two factors.
But you don't have any measurements, observations of at all of this claimed substantive background medium, do you? It's just a made up kind of model or a hypothesis. You would need to come up with really good evidence for this to exist before you can claim it. Just claiming it doesn't help us.
It's pretty ironic coming from your side, dude. That's all I gotta say.
Is it? Can one test redshift and blueshift?
Bro, can we just change the topic, dude? I'm tired, bro. I can't be yelling, dude. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I gotta whisper. I don't want to get mad. I'm trying to keep my cool.
Why do you have to go mad?
Cause, dude, you guys get the worst out of me, bro.
No, the girl gets mad or you get mad.
Especially this guy.
Just
dude.
real quick.
Yeah, I do.
Really
I do
quick,
kind of mess with you, don't I?
You can have blue shifted light be attenuated. Like, that's my only point earlier, is that the two are different things, right? You can have them side by side. Blue shifted light can be attenuated. You wouldn't see the full spectrum. You see like the stronger wavelengths, but it's still blue shifted.
It is possible depending on the medium too. There's different types of attenuation depending on the medium.
What kind of medium?
The attenuation doesn't cause the shift.
For example, in the ocean, you have a different type of attenuation than in the atmosphere. You know that, right?
But the red and blue shift will be the same.
No.
There's a difference. There's a difference between attenuation and red and blue shift.
I forget the order in the ocean, but it's like some of the last colors to disappear are like yellow and green. As you go down into the ocean deeper and deeper, you'll start seeing the attenuation.
Yeah, because you're in the medium again. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with redshift, and that's it can be done in a vacuum. It can be done through a medium, and you're missing the point. It has nothing to do with the medium's attenuation effects on light.
I think that is his problem. I'm not 100% sure he actually understand what red and blue shift is, and what attenuation is, and how those two are completely different.
No, they're not. What's the difference between the two of them then, if you would explain that maybe?
Well, there's really no difference. It's hard to prove which one is happening, whether it's due to motion, right? Your relative motion.
And then you don't understand what they are.
No, I do. You guys are saying it's because the universe is expanding. So it's literally the motion of the universe moving away from
it has to do with
right now, all we're saying is there's different things.
It has to do with wavelength versus some form of refraction. When you're going and attenuating through a medium, your light's being refracted, changing the spectrum and what you're receiving. But when you have an object that's moving towards you, light waves are being compressed, hence blue shifting, and moving away from you, light waves are lengthening, and hence red shifting. Those are the two differences there.
That's what I was saying. I don't know why you guys are arguing.
You never said any of that.
I'm talking about motion, right? So things that are moving away, i.e. the universe moving away, is going to cause the wavelength to be stretched, causing what you guys perceived as redshift. Now, if it was the other way around, right, and the universe was compressing, moving towards you, it would cause what? Blue shift. An analogy to that would be the Doppler effect. Another analogy would be the attenuation of light. We're talking about the same thing. You guys are just being difficult for whatever reason.
How do you get blue shifting and red? How do you get, in fact, when you have an object coming towards you, how do you get blue shifting through attenuation?
How do you get blue shifting through attenuation?
Yeah.
When an object is moving towards you?
Yeah.
Or just in general? When it
object moving towards you. I don't care about an object moving, both objects not moving. That attenuation we can demonstrate. But when you have an object moving towards you, how do you get blue shifting?
Yeah, you don't even need attenuation, right? You can do away with the medium if the object is moving toward you is going to compress the wavelengths.
Okay, exactly. And so my problem is that attenuation, according to you, only works when things are moving away?
No, dude, I didn't say that. Now you're strawmanning my position.
So how
or
are you?
maybe
You should have a
you don't
difference.
understand
If
my
you have
position.
attenuation effects on light while an object is moving towards you, instead of getting blue to purple, you should be getting blue back towards green. You should be getting a form of red shifting, and that doesn't happen, does it?
Hold on a second, dude. So I'm simply providing different causes. There's multiple factors that can end up with the same result. You guys are being difficult.
No, I'm just giving
I've been
you an
very
example to
charitable.
experimentally prove
I've
it.
already, dude, I've already conceded multiple times that relative motion can cause redshift. You guys keep throwing it in my face like you don't know what redshifting is, and you keep bringing up the Doppler effect and relative
But
motion.
you're saying,
When I've
yeah.
already explained that thoroughly, probably 5 times, maybe more, right? And then when I
you
go to
still,
provide other factors, other causes that will end up with the same result, you guys resist me. It's
but
really strange.
attenuation, yeah. But you mentioned attenuation quite a few times. That does not affect the red and blue shift.
It absolutely does, dude.
No,
It sounds like you got close earlier.
Empirically, this is the case.
No,
you said earlier, red shift and blue shift are stretching wavelengths, right?
Yeah, stretching and compressing.
Okay, what is attenuation?
It's when light. So instead of stretching and compressing, right, like you would with the Doppler effect or relative motion, instead you have light that's being propagated through a medium, right, causing most of the frequencies to be attenuated, completely dissolved.
Right.
Where all you end up with are the longer wavelengths, right? And the longer wavelengths are red. That's
Yes, but
inherently
that's
they're
not
red.
stretching anything, right? That's just showing you more
Correct.
of one side of the spectrum than the other. So how are you saying that they're the same? That one can be mistaken for the other? They're two
the
different
results.
effects. They have different results.
Yeah, the results are the same. The
Can you
effect is the
have
same.
a
The cause is
stretched
different.
or compressed? Sure. Can you have a stretched or compressed wavelength be then attenuated?
I mean, it's in the realm of possibility, but that's not what I'm saying.
But
That's
the
not my
answer is
position.
yes.
If that's
Of course
if that's what you thought I was saying, that's not. That was never.
No, that's not
my
what I think.
position.
I'm trying to show you from this example that the two are different, that they can be observed in the same phenomenon and be distinguished one from the other, right? We can tell which part of this thing that we're looking at is compression and expansion and which part of it is attenuation, which part of it is being obstructed. You can have a red shifted spectrum. You can have a blue shifted, in fact, spectrum that is attenuated, right? You wouldn't see the whole thing, but you would definitely be able to distinguish the shift in that attenuated light. They're two different things, is all I'm saying.
I don't know, man. I mean, I
just
agree
like
that
just like the main factor of attenuation is absorption of light as they go through the medium.
It's not just absorption. Yeah, absorption, diffusion, refraction, attenuation. It's all that combined. But just to answer Manufactotum, I'm not denying that you can have both, motion and light diffusion or light attenuation in the same system. Both that you have to factor in and consider.
I get that. I understand that's what you're saying. What I'm saying is, I don't think anyone would ever mistake attenuation for shift. Those are two different things. They look very different.
No, dude, you guys are presupposing the vacuum of space, and you're presupposing the expansion of the universe, and that's
Before
why
any of those presuppositions.
That's why we get redshift.
Don't know
so
why
that would
we
mean
thought
that. Okay, then we should have a different. If we did.
I gotta go, dude. I
like
really
that,
gotta go.
at different times of the night or the day, that should change. It doesn't. Hardly.
I think there's a bunch of things we would expect if that were the case.
Yeah, I mean, and
just
at
in terms of
noon,
like identifying, I feel like that was pretty clear. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's say if you did that of the sun at noon and at sunset, you should have two different. It should be red shifted at sunset compared to that noon. That doesn't happen.
Also, I was going to ask about if this is all due to some sort of ether. We wouldn't expect to see red shift and blue shift coming from the same direction. Like if it's the medium carrying that light, you wouldn't have like one thing behind another thing having different shifts. I would expect.
That's true. There's about 100, at least 100 galaxy, which is measured to be blue shifted. And in those areas, you will have plenty of galaxies which is red shifted.
Andromeda is a good example of that.
There's got to be stuff behind
It's
Andromeda
coming
that's like
towards us.
redshifted. Yeah.
Another thing is that the distance as well. So the further away it is, the more redshifted it is usually.
Yeah, but you're presupposing those distances.
No. And also, the red shifting from more distant objects also helps support the idea that the objects that are farther out are farther out on the edges of space itself as it's expanding, and that's why we see an even greater amount of red shifting, because the expansion out there appears to us from our observation point to be faster in those areas. It's not, but it's because of our position in the expansion.
Yeah, I was going to mention this with the axis of evil. Like some months ago, that was a sort of big thing that everyone was saying that there's a clear correlation between like our access in the universe. Like apparently, I would recommend people look into this more recently because they've kind of figured out what was happening there. I'm not going to do it justice, but basically the more, like a dipole doesn't show that, a quadrupole and an octupole do, and the more you divide it, but that also seems to be an artifact of our vantage point.